Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
As always, the Ramble is sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and you want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. Thank you for joining the team for their continued support for the Ramble. And today's Ramble is also sponsored by V&B Auto Centres at Handsworth. They're still offering that fantastic deal of 50% off your next MOT when you let them know you're a Rambler. Thank you again to Aaron and the team for their support also. What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is hot off the presser. Chris Wilder has just finished his press conference, and we are going to bring you all the news that's come out of it. A usual upbeat Chris Wilder that always manages to turn me round. I was okay, actually. I was okay after the Leeds game. I think we've got it out of our system now. Beaten by the better team on the night, parked it, moved on. They will probably win the league. We've just got to focus on doing the best that we can do. So where are we? Where are we as a club? I'm going to talk you through all the points that Chris Wilder talked through. First question he was asked. Andy Giddins started us off from Radio Sheffield. A really good set of questions again from everybody in attendance. So thank you to them for getting the information out of the manager that we want. The only question that wasn't asked was about Ollie Arblaster, which I'd have liked to have heard about. But other than that, covered an awful lot. So Gids started off asking him about Alfie Gilchrist. And Chris Wilder confirmed what the Ramble had already reported, that Alfie Gilchrist was back with Chelsea, rehabbing an ankle injury. So keep it Ramble, you get all the info here. He said basically he's done his ankle in training and he's gone back to Chelsea. He said a couple of weeks. That's different from what I've heard. But he said a couple of weeks for Alfie. It might be too soon for the Wendy's game, but then there's an international break, so he should be back in the mix for Coventry. I'd take that with a pinch of salt, to be honest. We know what Chris Wilder's like with the injury updates and keeping his cards close to his chest. Absolutely understandable. But I don't believe him anymore. That's just how it is, unfortunately. He said we train at a tempo, and that's the risk that we run because we want players to be ready to step in. We've got a competitive squad now. That's our choice as a club, that we train at a high tempo because we want to train how we play. And that's what's happened. We were then asked about Femi Siriki. What about Femi then? If Alfie's not right, Femi's back. Femi's back, which is great news for us as a club. I know somebody commented on one of the streams that I did earlier in the week and said, I'd like to see Femi Siriki in the team. I'll be very surprised if he starts after a bit of a layoff. I think it could be Hamza Chowdhury because Daniel goes on to ask him about Harry Clark, which we'll come on to as well. I think it could be Hamza Chowdhury, but having Siriki there on the bench as an option, he's always brilliant, isn't it? Because obviously he offers that attacking threat going forward. He's an absolute beast. He's been brilliant this season, Femi Siriki. It's just been his fitness issues that have let him down, unfortunately. So absolutely delighted. Let me just double check that I'm on the wrong bit there. So cool. Yeah, we're good. So they obviously had to touch on the Leeds game. And Wilder said we were disappointed. We lost a tight game. Didn't necessarily think the scoreline reflected the game itself, which he's not saying we didn't deserve to get beat, but it's 3-1. If you just looked at it with no context, it's a bit harsh, isn't it? He enjoyed watching his team, and he hopes that the supporters did as well, which I think it's fair to say the majority of us did, certainly early doors in that game. So we went toe-to-toe with the best team in the league, and we came up short. He was a little bit disappointed with the manner of the goals that we conceded, being set plays. He could have just shut up shop at 1-1 and taken a good point, but we were pushed back by a really good team. He didn't buy into the fact that our fitness levels weren't where they needed to be. I disagree with him on that point personally. I don't think we've an unfit team. I think that we were absolutely spent from going so high press early doors in that game, which we've talked about, at length, haven't we? But I disagree with him slightly there. But it's not a criticism of the team's fitness. It's a reality of trying to go all out in the first half to get in front, which we did, but we needed 2, maybe even 3 to keep these lot at bay, and we just didn't do it. They pushed us back. He said the game settled actually after they equalised, and it were only about 83, 84 minutes when Nonto comes on. It actually had looked like it were going to, he said peter out, but then he sort of corrected himself and sort of said even itself out to be a bit of like a draw. But he also said, I'm not going to gush over our performances. We're here to win. We've put ourselves in a fantastic position, and now we move on to QPR. And I think that's a great way of looking at it. Gids then said, have you needed to motivate the players in any way? Any pep talks needed? He said, I'm always thinking about what messages to deliver to the players. He says, I think about football all the time. And how do I best go about it? He says, sometimes I'll think they'll need a bit of an hammering. Sometimes I won't. He says, sometimes I just try and pick up off their vibes. And that's what I did. So this time he's asked them, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about it? And he said, they're disappointed to lose the game, but they're okay because they know they played well. So I went with that. And I said, you've every right to feel okay about that performance. We have to believe, not in an arrogant way, but we have to believe that we're a good team. And we are. We're not an arrogant, he'll never allow arrogant team, an arrogant player to be involved in and around the Sheffield United side. He says, as soon as you become arrogant, you are you're teeing yourself up for a fall, aren't you? And I think that's fair. I think we've seen it in the past with other clubs as well. Hello to all our Leeds United friends. He says, we work hard and we get on with it. We just crack on, don't we? So on to QPR. Gids then noted our strong record after disappointing results. He sort of said, you have shown that you can really respond to, historically, that you can respond to a defeat really well. He said, it's all about an accumulation of points. I'm not bothered about what anybody else or any other team's doing. He says, the top four in this league, it's going to be 2 from 4. And a lot of people will be saying it's now 1 from 3 because Leeds will be already away. We need to do what we need to do. Keep adding to that points total. He said, if it's 3 points on tomorrow or if it's 1 point, we need to keep adding to that points total. There's no gimmies in this league. There's another 12 clubs that could still make the playoffs, QPR included. There's also teams fighting for relegation below that. So everybody's got something to play for. He also, I think he came onto it later, but he also said, let's see how it unfolds because even if we play a team at the end of the season like Stoke, who may be safe in the division, he doesn't buy into this on the beach stuff either. He thinks every team plays with pride. And every team, he says, do you think Mark Robins is going to roll over and let us just walk into Stoke and take 3 points? No chance. So we're professionals. We don't get to where we are in the game without being professionals. We have to, let's just see how the season unfolds. We have to enjoy this time. We have to embrace it. He says, he always says this to his pals and other people close to him. We've had 4 or 5 periods in the last 55 years that have been positive. So when the positive times come around, we've got to enjoy it. And I think that resonates with me and it resonates with a lot of Blades because we do get caught up in the, oh, we've lost to Leeds and that's ruining our season and stuff. We're having a great season. We're having a brilliant season. He says we've been in Division 4 during that time. We've had a lot of lows as well. So you've got to enjoy the good times. And it's fair. I think it's spot on, really, with what he's saying. And it's perspective into it. It's what we talk about a lot on this channel is try and think about the positives that can come out of these things. We're not happy clappers. It's not hippy dippy. It's a case of we are disappointed to lose to Leeds. We want to win the league. But the fact that we're even fighting with a team as strong as Leeds for the league is remarkable in itself. They then talked about QPR. Gids said that they've been blowing hot and cold a little bit. Home and away form is slightly different. And he completely sort of skipped over QPR, rightly so, initially anyway, and said, we've got the best away record in the division, so we're pretty confident. And then he touched on QPR by saying it's always, he always enjoys going there. It's a difficult place to go, but it's a great ground. He'd have liked us to have had more tickets available for our supporters so we can take more down, but he said he's really looking forward to it as a game. Spoke well about their manager. Sometimes we've had good results there. Sometimes we've had not so good results there, but it'll be a tough game and we've just got to do our job. And that ended Gids' questions. He then moved on to Danny Hall from Sheffield Star. And Danny straight away asked him about Harry Clarke. He says he's been assessed. He took a whack underneath the sole of his boot, which left him struggling in the game against Leeds. He couldn't sprint properly. And he says that's a bit of a problem when you're up against Solomon and later Nonto. So he said we had to make the change. So we're assessing him to see how he is. He also asked about Jamie Shackleton, and he's back with the group as well, and he'll be involved at the weekend, says Wilder. Have you had to say anything different to the team, or has it been business as usual? Just sort of piggybacking a little bit off what Gids was saying in terms of a pep talk, or how have you gone about the aftermath of the Leeds game and sort of resetting to prepare for QPR? He says it's business as usual. We don't get to where we are with poor performances. He says it does my head in when people say it's patchy form. It does my head in when people say it's patchy form. We're resilient. We're a resilient side. The players know that we're resilient, and they know what they bring, and they deserve great credit for what they've done this season so far. Would we have taken this at the beginning of the season? He said we were reading an article from a Norwich executive that said would they have taken this position at the start of the season? He says they're 30 points behind us, and a lot of them are very happy with where they are. So that should hopefully give us some idea as to how well we're doing this season. He said the way he's looking at it is we've hit 50 points this season so far, so that's us clear of relegation trouble. He says if we win at the weekend, we're on 73 points, and that for me will be good enough to get you into the playoffs. So once we hit that 73-point target, we'll readjust our targets and we'll go again with a new target. So that's just further reinforcement from the manager that he's taking it one game at a time. Danny then talked about the booking situation. A couple of players are one or two cards away from a further suspension, which I think is a 2-match suspension at this stage due to the accumulation of yellow cards. He said, what do you do? Do you have a word with him? Do you ask him to lighten up? Do you trust the players to crack on? And he says, I trust them. He said, but one thing that doesn't help is, he said he really appreciated the referee's approach against Leeds United, where he let the game flow as best he could. And neither side got any real unnecessary cards or anything like that. But the problem there is it's inconsistent with other referees' performances. He wishes it were like that every week. It's a competitive game. It's an emotional game. We want our players to be able to compete, but we have to be disciplined as well. He spoke about, needless yellow cards, which he touched on in the previous presser as well, about Daniel Farke getting a yellow card for, celebrating with his players and stuff. He says it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. We have to have some consistency in the game. And at the moment, it's just proving a bit farcical, really, because some of those tackles that went in against Leeds, if they go in against QPR, could be bookings. And that's fair. We don't mind it as long as it's consistent. That's what we're saying. It was then asked about, interestingly, it was then asked about Jimmy Dunn. Will he be back in for him in the summer? Was the direct question from Danny, and fair play to Danny for that. He said, well, they turned our bid down. QPR turned our bid down. He's out of contract in the summer. We put a good bid forward, so we obviously like him, but it's their right to turn that down. We moved on. We're delighted we got Rob Holding. He's really pushing for a start now. He's a really good player, and Anel and Jack know that they have to play really well. It also gives us the option of going to 3 at the back like we did against Luton if we need to get a result that way. We're asked a little bit more about Rob Holding, and he says, Rob Holding is everything you'd expect him to be. An excellent professional. He's had a fabulous career. You don't work under, again, he said this previously, but he reiterated that you don't work under Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery and Mikel Arteta and have a prolonged period under those coaches if you're an okay player. He's a good player. He's a very good player. He's played in big games as well. He's stayed in really good shape despite his lack of game time. And he's not smashing my door down to come to be starting, but also by the same token, he's a team player and he's ready to step in when we need him. So it comes on to Rob Holding a little bit more. So that were end of Danny's questions, and then James Shield comes in. As the press conference goes on, my handwriting gets progressively worse. So I do apologise, but this is what we're trying to deal with, isn't it? So James Shield then came in and started asking the final set of questions. And he basically said, does having players, he says, I know you've answered about Rob Holding, but does having players like that around the camp make it easier for you as a coaching staff, that you've got seasoned professionals that can, you can trust and that are going to set a strong example? He said, yeah, he's Wilder says the example that he sets is a culture carrier. And he says, I've talked about culture for a long, long time. The standards he sets in training, he gives everything in training for standard drills, he will put everything in because he wants to show that he's ready. He's ready for when that door opens. And Shieldsy then said, it's a personality. It seems to him, to Shieldsy and other people looking in as well, and I'd agree with this as a fan. We are at our best as a club when we're personality led. And in your summer recruitment, Chris, and in the January window as well, you recruited big personalities, big characters, and the players that you've brought in have all been achievers at their clubs previously. And he put Wilder laughed and said, "Yeah, and I moved the non-achievers out in the summer as well." And then he quickly followed up by saying he moved some achievers out as well. The personality of the group now is chalk and cheese to what it was. It's not always easy to manage, but he doesn't want an easy job. These boys came here for a reason, and culture is so important. They want to win. Everybody should be right behind this group and be proud of them as well. They'll need us for these last 12 games. Shieldsy then said, is it down to bravery for the teams who managed to get over the line and get promoted? Is it the team that's the bravest? He says, we've got to be bold, we've got to be brave, but it's also sometimes about being pragmatic at times, and experience will come into it as well. It's about an accumulation of points. We'll also need a bit of luck. There might be injuries that we have to consider. You talked again about needing experience around these last 12 games. We've set ourselves up really nicely and we're well in the mix. We need to maintain and improve on our points tally to give us a strong chance. Nobody thinks he's going to win 12 out of 12, but one of the teams could go on and win 8 or 9 out of 12. And we have to do our absolute best to make sure we are that team, essentially, and to not just match them, but we need to be that team. And then finally, they touched on Kiefer Moore. Is it a bonus having Kiefer Moore, or how much of a bonus should I say? Is it having Kiefer Moore back in the side or in contention? He said it's huge. It's huge for us as a club, but also other teams are getting their players back as well. So we're in a similar boat to other teams. The one that stands out to me, and he didn't mention this by name, but I think he potentially is alluding to Manuel Benson coming back in at Burnley and scoring at the weekend after a long injury layoff. So other teams are getting stronger as well, but we're in good shape. There's only Blaster out long term, and obviously we've already seen that Blaster's back on the grass, as we like to say, probably doing a bit of individual training at the moment, but hope to see him before the end of the season. That's not what Chris Wilder said. That's obviously just my opinion. He says we've got a couple of niggles, including the one that we talked about with Alfie Gilchrist, but generally we're in a really good position and looking forward to the weekend. So really good presser again from Wilder. I don't think I ever come out of press conferences with him and feel like I'm not lifted or I'm not positive looking forward, despite a disappointing result on Monday night. So I'm buzzing personally. I'm really looking forward to it. I think we need to win this game, and I think we will win this game. I'm going to jump into some comments now, see what you guys think. Nipper starts us off. Morning, Jimmy lad. Good morning, pal. Hope you're well. Craig says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you're up early to catch you. Hoping Wilder picks his strongest team from the start. If he does, and we play like we did on Monday, then we should blow QPR away. 2-0 to the Blades. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I hope you're okay, you meant to say. I'm fine, thank you, pal. I don't think we'll... I mean, if we play like we did in the first 30 minutes, for 90 minutes, we'll blow any team away. I think we could have blown Leeds away, to be honest. But that is an unrealistic expectation. I don't think we'll necessarily blow QPR away, but I'm confident of a 2-0 win myself as well. I think we will get back on the horse. I think we will put it right, to be honest. And I fully expect us to move 5 points clear of Burnley, who are playing in the Cup this weekend. So, yes, we'll have played a game more, but that's a huge psychological advantage. Rob says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you're doing well this fine sunny morning. I am, thank you, pal. I hope you are too. As mentioned in Man Mountain's preview, I'm going for a positive 2-0 away. Much needed bounce back win. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Yes, thank you to everybody for the kind comments on Man Mountain's QPR preview. For those that haven't seen it, that is out now. That is similar to the breakdown that he did on Leeds United, where we're looking at how we can best get at QPR and what they're going to offer us in return, and also what Man Mountain thinks the score is going to be. So give that a watch if you haven't already, and thank you to everybody for the kind comments on. I love that when we get not really guests on, because he's been a huge part of the channel for a while as Paul, but things like Ramble on the Road, where we've got Paul doing his first one as well. So best of luck to Paul for tomorrow for his QPR Ramble on the road. But if you could all, when you watch that, if you're able to watch those, if you could let them know if you've enjoyed it, because it's not easy to come on. This is only Paul's, as much as Man Mountain's been on loads of rambles with it. It's only his second solo piece. So thank you to everybody that's watched it and put nice comments in, because I wouldn't have them on if I didn't trust them and I didn't believe that they could offer something. But it's all right, me believing in them. When they recognise that you guys enjoy it as well, I just think it adds that extra little bit of, you know, it's right that they get that kudos, or whatever the right term is. Rob says a win for us puts pressure on Burnley as they don't play till Tuesday. Yes, I'll be doing a watch along as well on Behind the Ramble for that. I'm also doing a watch. I don't think I've got the. No, I haven't. I meant to put the thumbnails on, but I haven't done it, unfortunately. But I'm also doing a watch along on Behind the Ramble tomorrow. Before our game, I'm going to watch Leeds West Brom on Behind the Ramble. So if you want to join me there, you're more than welcome. 9 points out of 9 leading into that game will be very welcome indeed. Absolutely right, pal. Big Tone says, morning, Jimmy lad. Just booked my tickets for the 16th of March. Nice one. You don't even get a free hard hat in case something falls off the roof. Going for 2-0 tomorrow. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. I think we're on as well for Jord to do a Ramble on the road for that one, for the big game. So, yeah, well done in getting tickets, Tone. I don't think I'll be able to be honest. Can I also get a shout out to a good friend of mine and a massive blade in Big Paul Dawson, home and away every week, who we lost yesterday morning. Absolutely well said. We lost a big blade in Paul Dawson. I didn't know Paul, but I know a lot of the Blades community did. He went regularly to away games by all accounts. I'm sure and I'm hopeful that the club will maybe commemorate this in some way. But absolutely right. Thoughts and best wishes go out to his family and friends. It's always awful to lose a member of the Blades family, but yes, we're thinking about him. Craig says, shout out to Man Mountain regarding his insight and analysis of Saturday's potential teams and outcome. Very professional. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. Josh says, good morning, Jimmy. Let's hope we get a proper Blades performance on Saturday. Get behind the lads no matter what. Up the Blades. So we will be, I'll be doing my watch along for Leeds. Leeds versus West Brom. Come on, you baggies. Apologies to Leeds fans, but come on, you baggies. And then I'll be watching the QPR game away from the screens at my dad's, perfectly legally. And then I'm coming back and we will be straight on with 90 after 90. We might have a slightly different format to present to you. I'm thinking of doing it in 2 halves, to be honest. One on this channel, one on the other channel. Maybe we'll sort it out. I'll show you exactly what I mean when we get there. But I'm excited for a couple of tweaks. The thing is, I think I really enjoy doing 90 after 90. And I think it's one of our most engaged shows. And I've talked about this on a couple of other streams. But I'm also conscious that if you miss 90 after 90 and you suddenly come to it and you see 2 hours, 20 minutes, it could be the best show in the world. But there's not a lot of people who are going to sit through 2 hours and 20 minutes of something that's already been and gone. Whereas I think if you do it in 2 halves, maybe have a first half on the Blades Ramble, where we go through the comments and the initial match reaction. And then we have a second half on Behind the Ramble, where we do another 45 minutes and we get callers on and things like that. Then people that want that extra fix can go over there, or you can consume it in 2 different chunks. I just think it might be, we're going to trial it anyway, like we are doing with a lot of different things on the channel. So we'll see how that goes. I don't want to lose the brand itself because I really like it as a concept. Ray says, good morning, Jimmy and fellow Ramblers. QPR ain't going to be easy. I agree. But play like the first half Monday and we'll for sure get the win. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles. Thank you, Ray. Hope you're well, pal. Let's go, says Lax Luther. Let's be real. This is a must-win game to guard against any spiralling. Yes, it is a must-win, I think. I think it is a must-win. Danny says, good morning, Blades. Need a statement performance. Strongest 11 and put QPR to the sword. Results breed confidence. 4-0 away from home. Come on, you red and white wizards. Oh, what's with the new T-shirt, Jimmy? Have you got a new sponsor? If only, pal. If only. I'd have gone, if these were a sponsor, I'd have gone full-time a long time ago, wouldn't I? But up the Blades, up the Ramble. Pete says, morning, Jimmy. I thought he spoke well there, even though he said it about talking, not taking the positives, blah, blah, blah. Then he said it himself. I thought same. He says, I'm not the sort of manager that says, oh, we've got to take the positives out of a defeat and things like this. And he must have said 3 times after that. But we take the positives out of the Leeds game. So, yeah, he did contradict himself a bit, Pete. That's a fair shout. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Ray says, that's great news that Siriki's back. He's going to be a big part in the running. Yes, he is, Ray, if he can stay fit. That's been his only major concern onto his fitness. It's second time he's been out this season already. Craig says, I agree with Wilder that we train with high intensity, but it has to be for up to 100 minutes, not 65 to 70, then gas out. Other teams, especially in the division we aspire to get into, manage it. That's true. Very true. Ginny says, Chowdhury at right back for me. Good news that Siriki's back. Gutted for Alfie. I would still be looking at retaining his services next season. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Is that either division, Jimmy? In either division? I would certainly want him in the Championship. Do you take him in the Premier League, maybe as a permanent signing? I would consider it as well. I'm just interested in your take on it. Was Brooks mentioned? Don't know what's going on there with him. No, he wasn't, Chris. He wasn't. No, he didn't. Andre Brooks did not get a mention. Nige says, morning, Jimmy and fellow Ramblers at work, so hiding in a corner while the machines are running. 2-0 Blades this weekend. I think we will turn up. Hope so, pal. Then we have to see if we want to stop it in the top division. Yeah. Then we will have to if we want to stop in the top division. Do you mean for the fitness levels? Yeah, absolutely right. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Rich says, our supporters will be brilliant on Saturday, but we need the lane rocking in our remaining games. As Wilder says, there's no easy games up all the Rambles. Yeah, absolutely right. There are no easy games in this league. Rich says, good morning, Jimmy. I heard the interview with Wilder post Leeds, and he said, like you, we should have been 3-0 up in the first half. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. But we weren't, were we, Rich? Unfortunately, we can... that is how I felt it should have gone. At least 2-0 up. And I've spoke to a lot of Leeds fans since who said, if you had gone 2-0 up, I think it's a completely different game, and I'm not sure we get back into it. So it's sliding doors moments, isn't it? Gruev clearing that ball off the line. I know they sometimes have a pop at Gruev, but he saved him in that moment, didn't he? So it's all fine margins. Brooks doesn't put a full shift in when out on the wing, says Craig. He's always been more prolific when playing in midfield. Tried to do a job for us, but he's out of position out wide. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Can anyone get in for Pigs tickets? Sold out before 11 now. You'll struggle for them, pal. You will, I'm afraid. Morning, Jim. Hope you're well, says Ricky from Just United. I'd like to see us try a 4-1-2-3. Sousa with him and O'Hare in front. BBD on the left, Raksaki on the right, Cannon centre. Holding, Anel, Hamza and Burrows. So Holding, Anel, Hamza and Burrows. That's your back four. Sousa with Hamer. Oh, do you mean a 4-2-1-3? Okay. So Sousa and Hamer, then O'Hare in front with BBD left, Raksaki on the right. Okay, got you. Who's on Cannon up top? All the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Sheffield's #1 content creator. Thank you, pal. Very much appreciated. Kieran says, would you try Femi up on the right wing when someone like Gilchrist or Chowdhury is at right back, driving forward with the ball and not having to defend is as much tracking all the way back to right back? Kieran, it's not a bad shout at all. I think they're different players, but we used to have similar conversations about Jayden Bogle, didn't we? They're that good going forward, and they pose that much of a threat in the final third. Could they do a job further up the field? I know Man Mountains forever talked about that in terms of he thought Bogle should be tried as a winger. We never really did it for a persistent amount of time. Siriki could definitely have an impact as a right winger. So you could, if Chowdhury's playing and he's playing really well and he's shutting everything out at right back and Raksaki's fading, I wouldn't be upset for Siriki to come on the right wing at all. Not at all. I think it's worth having a little look at it, Kieran, to be fair. Jay says, morning, Jimmy. Hope you're well. I'm going 2-0 Blades this Saturday. I believe Holding now needs to start instead of Robbo, as do I, pal. Up the Blades, up the full-time Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Just United, Ricky says, I reckon Blaster is a lot further in his progress than people are led to believe. Which I agree, which is why I'd have loved him to have been asked. Not that we could have trusted what Wilder said about it anyway. So, do you know what I mean? It's one of them things he'd probably said, yeah, still a long time away. And then he's in squad in 2 weeks' time. Chris says, now then, Jim, lad, sat in hospital with my lad. Oh, bloody hell, hope everything's all right, pal. Sorry to hear that. Play like we did in the first half Monday. We'll win easy. Don't worry, mug lad. Just got a very blocked up nose. Don't worry, mug lad. All the Blades. The ramble up the ramble. Okay, Chris. Okay. Oh, your lad's all right, pal. Bob says, hi, Jimmy. On behalf of all decent Leeds fans, I can apologise for Connor's Ali G immaturity the other day. There's banter and there's childish nonsense. Still think you'll go up. Thank you, Bob. But to be fair, we spoke about this on Battle Lines. I would be giving it Connor. And if anybody's seen Battle Lines from the start, it is pure just two lads going back and forth, back in their own team. It's there were no harm done at all. I enjoy the banter with Connor back and forth on both channels, and there'll be hopefully there'll be more of it to come next season. We've just got to hope that Sheffield United now do the business. Ricky says Mr. Mountain does not need his ego inflated anymore. Let's just leave him to his 4K. In fact, it ended up at over 6K, Rick, to be fair. So I'm sure his ego is through the... No, to be fair, he's not like that. I know he sometimes gets that reputation for some reason, but anyway. Leave 90 after 90 as it is, Jimmy. I think 2 hours will both go well over time, to be honest. Will both go well. So there you go then. So did you mean what you've said there, Chris? Because you sort of contradicted yourself. The only thing is, Chris, I love 90 after 90. It's probably one of my favourite, other than Three Mardy Blades and whenever I've got my dad on. It's probably my favourite show to do because it's the most interaction I get. But we do go a long time, which doesn't bother me at all. I've just got to think of, if you come to it late, you're not going to watch a two-hour plus show, are you? And I've just got to be realistic about that. You might want to watch a 45-minute one if it's been a really good game. And then if you want to call in, then you might watch, or you want to see what other people are saying live in real time. You might come over to Behind the Ramble and watch it as well, which is obviously more exposure for second channel too. So I think in 2 separate chunks, it would potentially do better. Could even have a halftime break in between where I could upload one to a podcast while we're waiting to come on for the second half. There's a few different bits we can do with it. I just think it's going to be a lot easier to digest for the majority. I'm open to any feedback, though, so I appreciate you leaving your opinion, too. Sousa, as a solid centre defensive midfielder with Hamer and O'Hare as floating 10s. Got you now. Got you. Attacking with them, dropping back on transition. Yeah, got you. Phil says, hello, Jimmy. Brilliant show, as always. Hello, Mrs. Mulligan. Holding place for me tomorrow. No disrespect to Robinson. But Holding needs some games to get up to speed. He plays for me. He definitely plays for me. And it's harsh on Jack Robinson. It is. I just think there's no room for sentiment. You play your best team. You know, it's all right being a 7, which I think Robinson has been a solid 7 this season in the vast majority of games. And I think his long throws caused an awful lot of problems for Leeds United as well. But there's a chance Rob Holding's 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 8, 8, 8, 8, 7, 9, 8, isn't there? Rather than just flat 7. And we might need that in the running. Kieran says, what happened to Jamie Shackleton at right back? Love the channel. Jamie Shackleton's been injured for the majority of the season, Kieran, so he's not been involved. He may well get a shout back in that position. And thank you for your support of the channel. Appreciate it. Old School Raver 91. Yes, says, got to get them shots on goal faster. Split the second. Dilax showed at Leeds game on Monday. Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite get that bit. Favourite show of the week? Up the full-time ramble, says Will. Top man, one of our mods. Really appreciate you, pal. And the last comment, just one more snuck in. Leave 90 after 90 as it is. I can't always join on the day, but sometimes I even prefer listening back to it the next day, like a podcast while on the way to work or going about town. I'll take all this feedback on, by the way. And as I said, we're just experimenting with stuff at the minute. Jimmy says, yes, Jim, I say Alfie G in either division. I had Ali G made then from when Connor jumped on. Alfie G in either division in any formula, loan to buy or purchase up the full-time ramble. Nice one, pal. Honestly, are you getting a bit nervous about Cannon not scoring yet, says Dan? I'm happy to give him the benefit for now. Up the Blades. Honestly, not at all. Not at all. No, I think he'll be a really good signing for us. Ian says, hi, Jimmy. QPR will be a tough game. It will, but play like we did on Monday. We'll win 2-1. Cooper, Robbo, Holding, and L. Right back, Burrows. Peck, right back. And L right back. Burrows. So that's your back 4. Okay, interesting. Peck and Sousa, BBD, O'Hare, Sackett, and Cannon. Up behind the ramble. Up the full-time Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you. So Old School Raver said, delay. Got to get them shots on goal faster. Split-second delay showed at Leeds game. All right, got you. Yeah, sorry, mate. I should have picked that out, to be honest. Nige says Shackleton shouldn't come back into the side, the squad. I just don't think he's good enough, to be honest. Yeah, maybe. Ian says 90 after 90 is great. You could do a praise or grumble straight after with 3 Mardy Blades. Could do. Like that idea as well. I don't want to. I mean, the lads do it, you know, because they enjoy doing it. But I don't want to commit them to anything that they can't stick to. It's a big ask to say every time. But yeah, I'm sure we can sort something out. Thank you to everybody who's joined us this morning. I know it's a bit of a difficult time during the day. A lot of people are working or between shifts or running the kids to and from school and messing about and all this sort of thing. So thank you to everyone for joining me. As I say, the next time you'll see me on either channel is going to be, unless anything major happens in between times, we never rule out the fact that we could jump on for anything. But the next scheduled time you'll see me will be the Leeds versus West Brom game on Behind the Ramble tomorrow from 12:15. I believe Jord Motson's joining us for that, which will be great. And then I'm watching the game, and then we're back for 90 after 90 at 5. Well, probably just after 5, 15 minutes after full time. We'll be on for 90 after 90 tomorrow on this channel, the main channel, Blades Ramble. So, hang on. Chris says, finally got your surname on Radio Sheffield the other night. Jimmy S. Lol. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I was on Radio Sheffield the other night, which was great to be asked to come on. Ray says, I for one watched the 2+ hours. I love it. Yeah, but Ray, you're a top Rambler, aren't you? You're all in. You're a platinum Rambler. You're committed, and I really appreciate that. Not everybody is going to be as into it as you guys are. So yeah, we'll see anyway. It might stay as it is. But I just think we've got to keep trying to improve things. I don't want to break it or try and fix it if it's not broken. But I think you should always be trying to improve the quality and your offering and things like that. So, and I think we've done all right so far. Positive Jack. I don't think I'll ever agree about the signing of Rob Holding. Our defence didn't strengthen like it needed to. You'll just wait and see till he starts in the side, Jack, and you might have a different opinion. I wasn't enamoured with Harry Souttar when he first came in. When he was first signed, he didn't jump off the page at me as brilliant. And then look at the impact he had. It was absolutely fantastic. Heidi says, we are nowhere near as good defensively since losing Harry Souttar. I agree with that. We're one of the worst teams I've ever seen for defending crosses and corners. And that alone is a reason to try and change it up with somebody who we think might be a better player, in my opinion. Positive Jack says, well, we've not seen the benefits yet. We haven't, but we haven't seen Rob Holding yet properly, have we? So that would be my argument back to that. But again, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to everybody. Oh, Sheila's Wheel says, joined late. Cannon mentioned up front. Any problems with Campbell? No, I don't think so. I think I love Tom Cannon, and I'm delighted we've got him. I still think he's a really good signing for the football club, particularly long term as well. I'm starting Tyrese Campbell this game. I think he did enough, didn't he? He did more than enough to be lively. I think he causes loads of problems. Man Mountain were quite vocal about we got significantly weaker when Campbell went off the pitch in terms of our offensive threat. I tend to agree in the context of the game. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I've said that about 3 times already. Thank you to everybody for joining us. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade!